really quick then. And if anybody has any questions in the meantime, you can unmute yourself and just chat with us a little bit. And I'm guessing you mean to have it pretty interactive too, to where if, you know, somebody has a question that pops up, they can just,
And if anybody has any questions,
you know, oh,
yourself.
1 second.
Yeah.
There we go. Sorry about that. If you can't tell, I usually don't do this. Usually it's Matthias that does all the
Hey, yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah, no,
you got me set up for it, so it should be pretty smooth from here on out.
yeah, cool.
But I mean, I'm pretty much just going to turn it over to you, Rob. You know, you've got 20 years real estate experience, flipping houses. You've done lending. You've got commercial properties. You've done mobile home parks, self-storage. If there's anything else you'd like to touch on that you've kind of done, but you've done quite a bit.
Yeah, no, I've been in real estate since 2004, and I think I've renovated around 400 homes. Done lots of sort of small scale developments, getting lots prepared for builders. I mean, with local builders, and then especially during the boom, you know, 2004, 2006, 2008, we were selling a lot to Ryan, Cahavanian, some of the regional and national builders. Yep, trailer parks, good and bad experience there. And then since 2015, I've been mostly focusing on private lending. So working with, working with people working on renovations, small land development, stuff like that. Yeah. So my company right now is called Anchorbolt Lending, and I'm up in Manassas, so pretty close to everybody. I think that's on the call. Yeah.
Well, I mean, last time, if anybody wants to jump in if they're not from the area, but we had somebody from Arizona and then somebody else from the West Coast too that came in. So yeah. I think that's important to touch on. You do nationwide lending and even out of the country too, right? Weren't you doing some deals? I want to say it was in Europe or something.
Oh, that must have been my doppelganger. So no, nothing there yet. So yeah, we can do across the country. I think there are a couple states that we can't work in directly, like doing fix and flip stuff. But I think the other 46 states we can do things in. So that's most of it. Yep.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I mentioned when we were talking with Luke before, you know, at the end of the year, we've got a 30-year rental product coming out that doesn't, you know, like a traditional bank loan would have like a balloon after 5 years, something like that typically. And this would just be fixed over the 30 years. So, and that should be available in all 50 states as well. So most of the hard money stuff we're doing is based in Virginia, DC, Maryland, and Florida, but certainly have capacity to go most other places in the country.
Okay, perfect. For the new rental product, I just out of curiosity, is there like any, because that sounds really good, 30-year fixed you were saying, and at 4.5 to 5%. Is there any
around there? Yep.
Yeah. What do you think? Is there any points on that, or like what point range would be if somebody was looking to do that?
Yeah, at some points, I mean, probably in the 2.5 range, I think, and then appraisal fees on there as well. I mean, that's, you know, versus the hard money stuff where that's my fund that is participating in that. So in the 30-year stuff, we're acting as a broker for some institutional capital there. And so they're usually looking for an appraisal and then a lease in place, or the appraisal indicating what the rental value, you know, monthly value will be. So sort of like, as long as that hits their credit box they're looking for there, that they are doing 75 to 80% loan to appraised value on that. So I think that fits a lot of scenarios.
Okay, gotcha. Nice. And so would that be, so if you're doing let's say maybe you have a project going on, because a lot of people that are going to be tuning in, they're going to be curious about obviously your hard money products that you've got, what all needs to be done for that. But for this product that you're talking about, the newer one, would that be like, let's say you have a new property, it's rough, you're fixing it up and you're planning to refinance with this one that you're talking about. Is that one, can you do it with refinances? And two, would they be doing like an ARV appraised value, or is it just currently the appraised value?
So, right, like after, I mean, if we did a hard money loan or, you're working on something, yeah, I think it's perfect to refinance in this 30-year product. And so they'll be looking at the ARV at completion. So it needs to be move-in ready at that point. So tenant in place is helpful, but they can do it off of the appraisal. So yeah, once we're done with the hard money part, the renovation and all that, and it's ready to go, then yeah, I think it's perfect to go into.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, the last question I kind of have, I was going to turn over to you if you just had like, you want to do your thing. I don't want to keep interrupting, but the last question I had is a lot of people. So a lot of stuff that I've seen, I've personally never used hard money. But a lot of people do it to start with their first few deals, or just if they, you get to a limit of your capital and you need hard money. So how do some of the people, because I know you're saying you're doing, I think it was 70 to 80 or 70 to 75% loan to value for the deal for hard money. How are people coming up with that other percentage if they're starting off? Do you see like, what are you seeing a lot of your clients, I guess, use? Yeah.
So, I mean, some of them have cash. I mean, they're cash on hand or family funds. I mean, I think what is nice about hard money is that we're looking at the ARV, like the after repair value. So we can look at that equity that you're going to make on the deal. If you're buying the property at 200 and it's 100 fixed, I mean, let's say that's kind of the all-in number and it's worth 400. I mean, I think the two metrics to look at are loan to value. I mean, so 70 to 75% of what it's worth at the end of the day, and then loan to cost. And so, we're generally probably looking at, and I think like true sort of hard money lenders across this market are probably looking at 90 to 100% loan to cost. There are other programs where people will sell, again, I mentioned the institutional capital that's there providing the funds for the 30-year stuff. They will sell their hard money loans to institutional capital, and they're looking for a lower loan to cost. And so like an example that I just gave, if it's 200K to buy the property and 100 to fix it, I mean, we'll call that all in number 300. If you're at a 90 or 100% loan to cost there, you're going to be looking at $270,000 of loan on that, or at a 90% loan to cost, or at 100% loan to cost, you'll be looking at $300,000. So you don't really have that much cash in the, maybe no cash in the deal except for your interest payments and closing costs and stuff like that. But people that are selling their loans to institutional capital are probably looking at 80 to 85% loan to cost. So, I mean, at 80% loan to cost, like you'd be at 240 there, and you'd have to bring $60,000 plus your points and fees to the deal. So they're really looking at a less leveraged situation.
So is that the one that was 90 to 100? Was that pretty much your sort of loan product? Is something that would be possible there?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's generally what we are doing for people. Yep.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, I mean, like, I've talked to our investors too, and it's maybe not such a large deal on that. I mean, maybe it is, maybe it isn't on that first deal. I mean, if you have $30,000, I mean, as a lender, I mean, all lenders are really looking to, how's this person going to get out of the property? What's the exit strategy? Is that sell it? Is that refinance it? And then we are looking, just make sure that monthly payments occur, on interest. So, I mean, that's pretty important. I mean, but, in talking to some of our other investors, I mean, especially guys who have, are flippers, renovators, people that have multiple projects going on. If we go from that 90 to 100% loan to cost there, and they have 5 or 6 deals going on to us, that's another $200,000 to $300,000 of cash that they have to put up, which really, it's, I'm underwriting the deals and I'm comfortable with what they're doing, but that takes it, that ends up probably taking 2 deals off their plate at any time because they've got so much cash tied up there. So, but I think dealing with us or any other lenders, those are really the 2 metrics you're going to be looking at. And loan to value is easy to get. Loan to cost actually, ends up driving that down with a lot of other people.
Yeah.
In terms of what the final loan amount is going to be.
And out of curiosity too, like, so you're mentioning taking the deals off the plate because 90 to 100% of loan to cost there of what they're going to have in the deal. Have you noticed just over the past year or so that it's harder for those maybe people that are flipping houses to get all those deals, or are you seeing that as pretty much all the same in business as usual for people?
You mean like, is it hard for people to source the deals right now?
Yep, the deal flow to get those percentages too,
I mean, yeah, you tell me here. I think I think it's very risk on. So people are really trying to buy any
Center
deal. I mean, that's my sense. Like, we saw that at a foreclosure sale up in Prince William today. I think someone paid around 470, 475 at the auction, and the property is worth 525. I mean, like even if it's perfect, I mean, there's hardly
any spread.
Yeah. I mean, by the time you even pay commissions and closing costs, like, and you put your own cash in, I mean, like, best case you make $30,000, but there's got to be, I mean, there has to be repairs and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's definitely a risk on. I mean, I feel like I spend a good amount of time sort of discussing values. I mean, ARVs, I mean, retail values with clients, and talking about deals like that, and just trying to get that dialed in and back down to earth. I mean, sometimes, I mean, I had a woman I was working with in DC. I mean, the comps very much said that the property was worth, 1.175 million on the resale. And, she sorted me up and down that it was going to do 1.3, 1.35. And I mean, 8 or 9 months later in the renovation and with the market we've had, it may have done that, but that changed the whole underwriting equation in terms of like, where do we feel comfortable financing or doing that deal? And that was at 1.175. I knew we could get that. Anything north of that, like, I mean, I'd be the first one to give her a high five, but I wasn't convinced, and so I feel like I see a lot of people really reaching at that end to try to, try to get in a deal. I mean, because it's hard out there. We've, I think the last couple of years, I mean, very visibly, we've seen wholesalers come into the market and are getting deals that
aren't deals.
Yeah, I mean, aren't deals. I mean, or they're calling around a ton and sending postcards and stuff like that, and they're getting stuff before it. I mean, I don't think the MLS is very viable for finding a deal, but they're getting stuff that would have been available through other avenues. So there's that, and then individual investors. I think the psychology has kind of moved to if we are in a deal, at least we have a chance of making money, versus if we don't have anything, then we don't have anything.
You see too, because this is kind of getting a little bit away from the private lending side of things, but are you seeing it too where more people that you're talking to, they are kind of projecting that things are going to continue to increase, kind of like a little bit like '08, where it's like, hey, yeah, we're going to buy it. Yeah, sure. It seems like the comps are, let's say 150,000, but probably the way things have been going, we should be aiming at 165 to sell it. Are you seeing some of that too, or not really from just that perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that's slowed down a little bit, at least in the Northern Virginia area. But again, it's. I mean, sometimes I feel like I don't know because there'll be something and it's you've got two great comps, so let's say it's worth 150, and then there's an offer in for 180, right? And I just that came from nowhere. I mean, I know around like in the Charlottesville area, where around there, we're seeing people relocating from New York and stuff like that. Who've been beaten out on properties and coming in and just, I mean, getting a quick study period, a quick home inspection, but half the money is cash and it's at retail, at asking price or above, just so they can secure a deal and get out of New York. So, I mean, I think that is affecting our local markets as well, some of that relocation stuff. So it's, I mean, I like on the lending side, and I think like, for real estate investors too, it's just sort of, I mean, I'm always looking at it in terms of like, okay, like I know I can sell it for this. And if it works there, then cool. You know, I mean, we're looking at trends, and, you know, and time going on. And I mean, you know, I think our macro environment is sort of disposed to keep things moving along. I mean, I don't know that we're going to necessarily see 10% increase in retail prices this year, because I'm not sure where the money can come from anymore. But
Yeah.
there's still such a lack of inventory, and interest rates are low. So, and I mean, the demand is out there. So,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, so I think target kind of what you know is going to work, and then, you know, you should, you know, add some on that and see if anybody's out there. You just really don't know these days.
Yeah. So maybe I have so many questions that were kind of just very interesting to me. I probably should,
Yeah, sure.
We should start back with like so somebody that's getting into this, what is the process like? Like, let's say they have a deal, they reach out to you. What do they need to do? Just if you can go over that full process, what it looks like, and kind of the benefits. And I'll even speak to one of your benefits for you right now. And that's that you mentioned you look at all the deals for people. So it's basically like you have a second set of eyes on there to double check your numbers.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if you could just go over all that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so if you have a deal, I mean, usually we just get in touch, and sort of the more lead time we have, the better. I mean, if it's something that just has to close this week, we can usually probably do it if everything is kind of lined up. But I mean, 10 business days is probably realistic in terms of getting everything done. You know, the biggest holdup you're probably going to have right now is getting title done timely. I mean, I think out in your way, I think one of the title companies,
3 weeks out.
You and I were working with there. I mean, they're saying it's probably 3 weeks to get title. That wasn't rushed right now, so that's really going to be the longest driver. But so yeah, I mean, so we get under contract, get title started, and then we get in touch. Generally, we'll schedule I mean, I'll try to get as much information as I can over the phone, and get comps here. I mean, just try, if you've had a chance to get in the property and get a budget and scope of work together, so we can start looking at that. And then we'll set up a site visit. I'll come out and look at the property with you and walk through it, and just meet you, get comfortable with the renovation plan on it if we're doing a fix and flip. Really, I mean, really at that point, issue a term sheet. I mean, just saying what we're going to do in terms of financing, and try to schedule a closing date if everybody agrees on that, and we agree on the renovation schedule.
So I think that's one thing that a lot of people have questions about too is, how does the renovation schedule work? So you come down, you check everything out. What's the process like? What are the milestones, and how does it work to get your funds?
So pretty flexible on that. Usually I mean, most cases we're funding the purchase price, and then we will set up a draw schedule. And so that can be as simple as, I mean, if it's a $30,000 renovation, I mean, then we'll probably just do 1 or 2 draws on that. If we're financing the construction draws as well. Some of that is, I mean, we've been doing it typically that some of that will be done up front, and then the other part of that will be paid out, reimbursed at the end of the job. So one of the things we'll look at in underwriting is like making sure that you can bridge from purchasing the property, getting to that first draw, whether that comes at closing or a little bit further on, and then getting to the end of the deal. So I mean, if that's like a $30,000 fix, that's not too stringent. If we're getting into $120,000, $150,000 fix, I mean, we're really rebuilding houses at that price point, then we'll probably set up 4 or 5 draws. I mean, and that's that's usually sort of demo and materials ordering, mechanicals, electric, plumbing stuff, anything kind of behind the walls. Another one would be walls in, painting, flooring, and then generally it's kind of cabinetry, finished work, and then an amount at the end of the job, just to make sure that you get all the way through it. So, I mean, like part of that, yeah, so we'll kind of put that down on paper in an Excel spreadsheet and just assign value on that. I mean, one thing I would recommend, like, day one, you get in a contract, and if you're able to access the property, is to meet with contractors and get as hard of numbers as we can get, in this time frame. And that's always been tough with, that's incredibly tough with contractors and material providers right now. Is being able to get, like one of my carpenters, won't give out firm numbers anymore. It's like, it's going to be around here, like, and I think I can get there on March 15th, but I'm not, no guarantees anymore. But, so I think try to nail down that stuff as much as possible. When like lead times have expanded so much, like windows used to be 2 weeks, like they're 12 weeks now, at least, for some of our suppliers. Like cabinets are running 8 to 16 weeks, depending on what you need. So, that's really a lot of time on some kind of stuff that you need first, right? We've got guys switching from using vinyl siding to using hardy plank right now because hardy is available. Vinyl siding was 10 weeks out. So I think it's trying to figure out that stuff. Figure out costs. In this particular environment, figure out costs and availability and how that changes your plan. You might not want to put hardy on, $150,000 Rambler, but if you can't get, if you can't get vinyl for 4 months and hardy's, let's say it's just $5,000 more to get it done, and you're at market at 90 days earlier. That's like we can really figure out. Yeah, we can figure out what the actual cost is there. You're gonna have a nicer product, but like you're gonna be down the road much faster. So, so I think that's the kind of stuff to look at in that period and just try to, you're not gonna know everything. In terms of what the renovation is gonna entail at the start of it, but really trying to define that stuff so we have fewer surprises down the road.
Yeah, and so that what you're talking about too with the material and lead times, has that changed how you're lending it all too, and like what you're seeing happening in the private lending space? Like, are you having more extensions, or are you just lengthening the projects? Because a month project's 2 to 3 now.
Yeah, generally just increasing the term a little bit. So I just wrote, we just did one in Charlottesville that, probably should be 6 to 7 months if they could get this up. But I think we just made that 10 months because they've already talked to they already talked to their suppliers and they know it's going to be, 4 or 5 weeks, 4 months before they can really even get some of the stuff in. So, but that's part of the underwriting where they're looking at that lead time stuff, looking at the deal to make sure it supports being out there. There's enough money in the deal for everybody to go that far out and stuff. So.
Okay, so I think we got, let's see, James, appraisals have been taking a while for sure. How are things up there? Like here, I've noticed that there are some appraisers that can get it done in 2 weeks, around that, maybe a little bit more, between like getting it under contract and getting the appraisal done and turned in. And then other ones are taking 3 weeks or maybe even a little longer, just depending on the appraiser.
Everything I'm hearing up here is like 3 to 4 weeks right now. Get appraisals turned around. So
3, 3 is pretty normal here. If it's 2, it's like you got somebody who's really on it.
So I think from like on private lenders, if it's something local, like I'm just going to do our in-house appraisal on it myself. Like we're going to do that and not use an outside appraiser. If it's something out of the area, then we would have to go, with an appraiser at that point. So that would slow it down. So if it's within an hour or 2 here, we can meet the property and have enough MLS or access that we can really confirm value, then that's going to be a lot faster to get a loan through than if we have to, if we have to wait for an appraiser, we can't do anything there.
So we got a question from Pete.
Yep.
He said, Rob, are your loans completely secured by the collateral with no personal guarantee? So any personal guarantee on that?
Generally, yes. Yeah.
Do you have any products? So, I mean, you've got the collateral of the hard asset, the house, but do you ever do anything without the personal guarantee? Is that maybe something like further down the business relationship or?
It would be further down the business relationship. I mean, actually, the only loan that I've done without one was the loan to value ratio was really extreme. I mean, so it was like probably below 50%. And so, I mean, I think it was like 800 on a $2+ million property.
Oh, wow.
So I wasn't crazy concerned about it.
That was kind of like, even if something bad happens, then it kind of works out for you too. So
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't worried about that one much. So.
We got a question from Brian too. Are there any qualifications somebody needs to have to be funded on a deal? For example, like their credit score, cash on hand, certain amount of experience. Do you have like a sheet of kind of criteria? I guess that's kind of a little broad, like big.
Yeah, I mean, so I think like to answer that question, Brian, it's I mean, two things. If we're keeping it in-house, then credit score is not so important. Cash on hand, we're really looking at those two things. I mean, ability to complete the project, because I really don't want your project. Like I want you to be able to finish it, and we have a successful exit from that, whether that's you selling it or refining it or whatever, and then on to the next one. I mean, so I mean, that's especially if we don't have like a lot of track record with each other, that's something I'm going to be looking at, just to make sure that if we're like in a fix and flip situation, that we're able to get through the renovation with what we've agreed on, like on the budget and the scope of work, and that interest payments can be made there. And then experience, I mean, not so much. I mean, if it's a townhouse somewhere, I mean, like, semi-rural, I mean, it's probably going to be hard to spend more than $40,000 on that. And I mean, even if you've got to go and do a pretty full renovation on that, I mean, depending on the size. So, I mean, stuff like that is, that would probably concern me less with somebody who's newer to flipping and renovating properties. My experience has been that the more money that gets spent on renovation, I mean, the more things can go wrong. I mean, obviously, because you're spending more money, but things just start going sideways more, and there's just more creep, I guess, is kind of the best way to describe that. So, I mean, I think as like part of a getting to know each other process, we sort of just discuss that and just try to make sure that the deal kind of matches the investor too.
So that's kind of like, you don't have a hard checkbox of like, oh, your credit score needs to be this. It's more like everything. It goes with the person and the deal that they're trying to get.
Yeah. So, I mean, but it's really that, I mean, does the deal make sense in terms of the numbers? I mean, like loan to value, loan to cost, I mean, cash on hand, but then also, I mean, is this borrower going to get it done and execute it in the time that we think it's going to happen?
So would it be safe to say that one of the best things, if you're starting out, or maybe they're just starting a relationship with you, or maybe some other whatever hard money lender, let's say they're new and they don't have that experience. It's a decent deal. It's nothing fantastic, but it's basically their first one. They can help a lot with that, what you're saying, with them getting the deal to the finish line by having their ducks in a row, just getting contractor estimates and presenting all of that to you. Would that essentially help their case for you, or?
Yeah, I think so. And I would think that, I mean, like, I mean, I'm this way, and I think others would be this way too. I mean, not to be out there fully holding hands, but like through the process. But I mean, it's really me to start. And, I mean, whether it's me or I think a lot of other lenders have been in real estate for a while, been renovating for a while too. And probably just kind of listen to them, that like, hey, these might be a couple pitfalls here. If, especially like materials and stuff right now, if we need to structure the draw schedule a little bit differently to pay for, pay for all the windows and siding and all that long lead time stuff up front, just so we know it's coming. Talk about that kind of stuff. Talk about what you don't know. I mean, I think they'd rather spend the time, especially if you think you are going to be interested in this and keep doing it. I mean, to develop that relationship and sort of cultivate you as a real estate investor more, because I mean, I think everybody would wants to elevate your education level and deal with people who are good and getting, wanting to improve at what they're doing. So I think that relationship part's important and can be really helpful. Yep.
Yeah. Some good questions. I mean, keep them coming if you guys have any more as for what's going on. Is there as you're doing things, is there anything else you want to touch on through the process or for private and hard money lending?
Let's see. I mean, I think, maybe it's not so much, kind of macro right now. I think we talked on this a little bit before that, I see this more with people who have been real estate investors for a longer time. It seems like there's a lot of demand. In self-demand to get into deals. And just try to get get cash flow going. Which is obviously really important. I think I've been doing this for a while here, and maybe hopefully learn some lessons. We'll see. But I think it's if you can pace yourself a little bit. If you are not at the point where this is really what you're doing and you've got to have 3 or 4 deals going on at a time, and kind of structure your thinking in terms of I'm going to do 2 this year, or I'm going to do 4 this year, which is 1 a quarter, right? And go out and really try to find those right deals. And that can mean a lot of different things, right? If it's some townhouse that you're going to flip and make 15% on, make $28,000, but it's no sweat, right? It's 30 days, you're going to be in and out. Might feel like you're just hitting a single on that. But I think that's okay. If you're not going crazy, not working so hard for it, and there's going to be a buyer and stuff. When I was flipping more, I felt like I got in trouble in terms of, building great houses. Lovely houses that nobody wanted to buy at the prices that I needed to sell them for. So, so I think just kind of knowing that market and not over improving stuff too. So just really make sure, okay, this is kind of the plan. I see this happening, and committing to that, but not being so rushed to get into a deal that you're getting into bad or marginal ones, because there are good ones out there. I see a lot of people's deal flow, and people are picking up nice stuff. But there's always opportunity.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's like you said. I've just noticed it's, I guess, thinner. The margins are thinner. People are chasing more just to have something going on. They feel like something's better than nothing, but there's still always good deals out there. So just keeping an eye out. Have you noticed, this maybe isn't necessarily a lending question, but have you noticed a lot of people that you're working with, they're finding some specific avenue that's having more success now to find deals that qualify for hard money loans? Unless it's a no-go. So
I think, buying something at a foreclosure auction is very tough for us to make those deals work unless you're bringing a lot of cash in. I think where I'm seeing people find the most success are actually buying through wholesalers, or working with wholesalers, or as using those strategies to try to get in touch with people. I think I've seen 2 or 3 deals in the last couple of weeks that have come through wholesalers that were fine. mean, the wholesalers have to make money too. So, I mean, there's, I think some ability to negotiate through there if you don't think the deal meets your criteria as it's presented. But they are getting deal flow. So that, I think that's an important avenue not to overlook. And then I think and the other thing I see people having success with is just really using their local realtors. Getting out there and, if it's probably bad form, blasting the MLS, all the agents with, hey, I'm looking to buy those deals you can't sell. But I think probably in each market there are, it's probably pretty easy to find the people who are dealing with more distressed properties, and reach out, to as many of those people as possible, and just continue to let them know that you're out there and interested in buying stuff that has some hair on it. And so those are really the two avenues I'm seeing people get a lot of deals that I think are pretty nice lately.
Yeah. So that's kind of funny how you're talking about the foreclosure market. So foreclosure auctions, because I'm guessing before you were, let's say 3 to 4 years ago, maybe even a little longer, you were seeing some occasionally on the MLS and from foreclosure auctions, and now it's like pretty much wholesaler style strategies is what's working best, is what you've noticed for properties you're lending on.
Yeah, it's like I'm not on Facebook, perhaps to my detriment, but I think it's really leveraging your personal networks and stuff. Very generally, the guys that I see trying to buy stuff at foreclosure auctions are older, and I think that, obviously, like, the world changes all the time, but I think those modalities of reaching people are more effective, and developing your niche. Is that mobile home parks you want to go after? Is that fourplex apartment buildings? Is that, is there some particular area or neighborhood or you're going to go buy land in this area. And so figuring out how you're going to get in touch with those people, I think is really is important, and it's going to work. We, like, on the other side of my business, we were running wholesaling strategies for, about.
We may have lost Rob. Let's give it 1 second. Anyone, while we're waiting on Rob to come back, does anybody have any questions or anything else they'd like Rob to cover?
Hey Chase, it's Brian.
Hey Brian, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. I was gonna ask Rob. I might have missed it in the beginning. I wanted to see what would be his terms on like a hard money loan for like a fix and flip. I was wondering, like, does it change from like deal to deal, or like as the relationship develops, really?
Okay. Yeah, I think Rob's back.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah, can you hear us, Rob? Oh, he's mute. I think
He's on mute.
Yeah, you're muted. There you go.
Okay, all right, fully back.
Did you hear us speaking while you were gone, or?
No, it was totally lost everybody.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah, do you want us to ask him really quick, Brian?
Yeah, no, I can ask him really quick. Yeah, Rob. So I might have missed it in the beginning. But my question was, what were like the terms on your hard money loan for a fix and flip? Like, does it change on a deal to deal basis on how good the deal is, or really just as like the relationship develops?
More as the relationship developments. If you find something that's like very, very low risk, and we don't have a big track record, then it might be lower there. I think if you kind of look at 12% interest and 4 points, like generally in the Mid-Atlantic region, and like some variation off of that, depending on the strength of the deal, then that's probably where the market is on most of this stuff. And so with some modifiers in terms of other risk. Some people won't do like really rural properties and stuff like that. So, I'm very okay doing that stuff. So, and I think that's going to vary lender to lender a little bit.
Okay, no, that makes sense.
And so the terms you were saying was how long again? Especially with the way the market is now with.
I mean, I think most deals looking at 6 to 9 months generally, like general terms. I mean, I don't usually want to go out over a year. And I mean, and then in general, I mean, if a project's gone on over a year, unless there's like really good reasons for it to have gone on that long, there's probably something wrong. So in terms of targeting though, too, I would, I mean, unless there's just some crazy deal that it's going to take 14 months to execute. I mean, as investors, I would be out looking for stuff that would be shorter term. If you're going to, I mean, fix and flip it or go try to get into a rental situation. Because it just ends up being a long time. That's what I found. I mean, you know, watching our investors and then also having done it personally, you know, you want to get on other stuff. I mean, stuff starts happening. So it's better to kind of hit it and get out.
Too much risk, and then like you're saying, stuff's probably going wrong.
Yeah. So
yeah. Anybody else have any questions that are coming up? I think that's pretty much it for now.
how are you finding stuff, Chase? Are you finding many deals out there? Anything that looks interesting, or?
I mean, not really. I've bought a lot less than I would like to this year. But I mean, I've got some of the commercial stuff going on, which has been nice. But on the single family side of things, Brian and I talk pretty decent amount, and he knows it's been frustrating on my end. I'd like to be buying more on the single family side of things, but it is what it is. I really don't know. I pretty much don't watch the MLS at all, in the sense of there's maybe been 2 deals that have come on the market, but they've just got bid way over where they should be. Like, there's one in particular that sticks out that came on the market for 85. And I think 85 was, you know, a pretty good price for it because it'd been abandoned for literally like 15 years. And it went for 30,000 higher. So it's like, I don't know what they were going to do with it. But the only comp there, it needed $60-some thousand probably, but the only comp there was like 190. And that was like kind of an outlier comp. So, yeah, I mean, if you don't hit that 90 or 190 and the market changes, and that's again with an outlier comp, then it's like, you've got to have all this perfect storm for it to be worthwhile for that amount of risk and work you're doing.
Yeah. I see that with a lot of buyers, and I kind of call it like min-maxing, where it's like, okay, we're going to bring this in, like this renovation, like we're totally coming under budget on this.
Yeah.
And we're going to get like 20% more than like the last comp in here. And it's like, you know, like it doesn't work, right? Like, you know, I mean, maybe that's going to happen, but I mean, generally it's just like you are not going to bring it in like so much under budget to make it meaningful and get like a complete outperform on the sales price.
Yeah. And I'd like to hear your opinion on this too, because you've done quite a bit more flips than I have, but even with the amount that we've done, which is like a fraction compared to you, is I've noticed best case scenario when I'm doing, I mean, no matter how much time you spend at the property, unless you're just really, really taking a thorough look through, which generally isn't super good use of your time, but no matter what, there's always things that you missed or something behind the scenes at the property that you don't know till you start working on it. So what I'm trying to say is, even if you have a little bit of cushion in your budget, you're generally at best meeting your budget, and very, very rarely ever coming in under budget. Usually it's over or right at it. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree. You know, and you are going to want to maybe do a little bit more. You get in there and, you know, what we thought before buying it seemed like a good plan was a good plan, but
Exactly.
You get in there and it's like, okay, what if we blew out this wall and moved the bedrooms around? And then like, okay, well, that's now another $12,000 or something, right? Like maybe it's, you know, it's better, but I mean, the plans, you got to kind of plan for the plan to change a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing, especially like dealing with like rural stuff is, and I see this with a lot of investors. I mean, so I'm going to say 2 things here. With rural stuff is like getting killed on septic fields. And so, I mean, I know the market's heated and it's tough to get, I mean, it might be tough to get a real study period on stuff. I mean, they have to put it under, get a home inspector out there, but I mean, maybe they don't want you digging up the drain field, or there's just not time, compared to all the other offers you're trying to beat out. But, I mean, if you have to go put in an alternative septic system right now, I mean, you're probably looking at $38,000 for like a pure flow system. I mean, drip or mound systems are going to be less, right? But you're still, I mean, that's going to destroy your profit.
That's one thing we touched on last base. And I was actually talking to Brian about this earlier today. We were looking at a deal, and I was basically emphasizing the importance of checking the health department for those records, because we had one I had one I was working on, and with the age of the property, I basically expect there to be no health department records. That's not unusual.
Sure.
And it's almost one of those things where you're taking a little bit of a risk, but if you buy a property that has no department records on it, and then you get into it and the system's can do some work, I'm not gonna say better, but it seems a little less risky, as opposed to if you have something that just straight out has issues with it and it's known prior to buying it, because then they're like, well, you knew about it, you need to fix all this stuff, as opposed to, I've got this issue, there was nothing on file, let's try to figure out a better way, fiscally or financially, for me to fix it. So the point I'm trying to make is, this property we were looking at had a septic system on record that had been declined for a new conventional application. So if you were a buyer, that's public record, you didn't check that.
Right.
And the quote I'd gotten from the company that I work with a lot was 22 to 25,000, because it's a smaller house.
Yeah.
Just to have it done, there's the majority of your profit, if maybe not even all of it. So that stuff can go bad quick. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing, like just in that vein, I mean, so that's a more rural problem. But I mean, in general, like what I'm seeing a lot of people doing their contracts is just not giving themselves any out at all. And I don't, if for some reason, like the budget doesn't, you get in there and it's just terrible. And like, you're like, I don't want to do the project, or like, you and your lender aren't able to come to terms, or, I mean, something happens. I mean, they've got no way out. And I guess they're just walking from the deposits, which seems crazy to me, because I mean, it's $5,000 or $10,000 or whatever on some of these deals that I've seen. And so, I mean, I don't know, I feel like I say that a lot to people. It's like, you have to give yourself an out. I mean, even if it's just like 3 or 4 days for like sorry, I don't know what, something's happening on my window.
I thought someone was breaking in or something.
Yeah, I'm on the 3rd floor right now, so it's gonna be big if that happens. I mean, just there no outs, so I mean, even if you can get like a 3-day home inspection, or I mean, a week of study, like just general study period, is great, because then we can meet, or I mean, a lender can meet, you can get some contractors out there, get numbers, and just make sure you're not totally making it up, versus like going in there and just being completely hard on the project. And you've got to, I mean, unless you're going to walk on it, like, you're obligated to buy it. I see a lot of people not building that in for themselves. And I mean, at least me personally, I'd rather, pay the inspectors a couple $100 or whatever, and kind of know what I'm getting into, than, and do that a couple times, than just lose, or be set up to lose $5,000 or $10,000. I mean, whatever the deposit is, And
that's a good point you made about, like, that's an issue you've seen other buyers do. Like, what are some from your perspective, the things you've seen all over the years, what are some things that have been like maybe hard money lending pitfalls from people who are getting hard money lending, or just like project pitfalls from people that are using a lot of hard money lenders, like flippers? Like, what are some like common pitfalls, like the one you're just talking about, that you've seen, just to really save people some headache and money?
Yeah. I mean, earlier we were talking about just like relationship with lenders. I mean, a lot of guys I know that do this have been flippers, renovators, developers for a long time, and got more into the financing side of it. And there's a lot of experience there that like needs to be used. And we're in an environment right now that I mean, certainly the last couple of years, it's been hard to be wrong. And so like, I can sit here and say, hey, there are, a couple of things to look out for, but the market has saved you. And I think like that's sort of important to remember that like, I mean, I'm not claiming to be the best real estate investor on the planet at all. I mean, but like, it's hard to, like, if the market's doing all kinds of great things and prices are going up 12 or 18% per year, like sometimes you just need to be on the train, and it's okay to realize you're on the train that's moving in that direction. So, I mean, things get harder. Like if we ended up in a recession or bear market or whatever, I mean, then you really see who has the skill. I mean, and it's okay not to know. But I think it's really used as resources about, I mean, use your contractors, use your lenders to help, give you some more viewpoints on things. I mean, I think we've hit on a lot of stuff. I mean, sometimes stuff is going to go wrong. I think if you just can't, I mean, not every deal is going to work. Like that's just reality. If you do enough deals, like at some point, there's just going to be, like I've got it going on with the borrower right now. There's a leaky basement that won't get fixed, like can't get fixed without a huge injection of cash. And like, he's just done. I mean, he can't do it. Right. So like, and nobody anticipated that coming, but I mean, there's a massive renovation, like there's a massive fix bill coming on that. I mean, so that stuff is going to happen. I mean, I think not, especially as you're getting started out, not spreading yourself too thin. I mean, because like, if it's one or two houses at a time and you can manage it, that's good. I think there's sort of somewhere between 5 and 12 houses, if you're able to get that much product right now, that like per year, that is probably, I would say not fun, because you're probably still working on your job, or you're doing other stuff, and it's not enough where it's like, okay, I have to quit this and go do real estate full time. So I think just that kind of self-management about, and clarity about, okay, like, I want to be a flipper, or I want to go acquire mobile home parks, or, this year I'm going to try to line up one single family rental per quarter, and just build my portfolio that way, and not rush and overload yourself. So, I mean, I've been tripped up that way too, because every deal looks like a good deal, and then you're like, okay, so, now I got to deal with all these deals. Like,
especially when you've gone a long time without getting a deal,
or
sure. Let's say you're used to getting 2 a month and you've only been getting 1 a month or 0 a month for the past couple months, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Definitely an issue. And we're a little bit past 7 now too, so I don't want to hold you in case you've got to go. Happy to talk for a while about stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm good. Or if anybody else has any kind of questions, or chime in. I mean,
any questions, guys? Any other questions for Rob? And I mean, if you're open to it too, Rob, it could be things that might be on some of your other experience, like with the rentals or commercial or flipping, since you've done quite a bit of flipping. If that's all right, if anybody wants to ask any of those questions for you.
I have a lot of mobile home stories too.
Yeah, I don't think I think I remember your one that you told me when we met in Charlottesville, and I would just that would scare me. That would scare me. So because that was a well, right? That was a well, I think, that you had an issue with.
That's a big issue there. Yeah, it's where we had a system that was regulated by the state. We had a community well there, and just had some radium in the water that was just very difficult to fix. I think that ended up being about a $300,000 fix by the time it was all done to get the treatment facility developed and set up there. So yeah, I mean, for me, if I were going to get back into the mobile home space, I'd definitely be looking for public utilities as much as possible there.
Well, and then with commercial in general, especially because you're working with a lot of developers, I feel like with development and commercial property, there's so many other unique things that can go wrong, like with the way your zoning is, or having to deal with the county a lot more. Is that kind of what you've seen too?
Yeah, I mean, not so much wrong. I mean, like most of my experience there is in development. So just doing like lot development, a lot of that's really county specific. I mean, so I think there's some counties that are great to work in and easy. I mean, here in Virginia, and there are others that I don't want to ever do a deal in again, because it just took too long and it was too onerous to get through. And so I think getting clarity about what if you're going to go in and split up lots and stuff like that, really understand what the process is. I mean, do you just go in with a plat and you're able to get 4 or 5 lots? Like, I mean, there are places like that, and you hand it to them, and 3 weeks later you're in business. And then there are other places it's going to be 1.5 years, 2 years to get through the process. And so, I think it's like, if you're going to go long like that, you really need to get paid.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, we don't have any other questions, but and we'll have like one last call for questions in case there's anything else. But
Okay.
While we're waiting on that, did you want to just give people, what's the best way to reach you? Like, do you like email? Do you have a website? What would the best way for people?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. So my company's Anchorbolt Lending. My email is Rob, R-O-B, at anchorboltlending.com. And I can post that into the chat here too.
Okay.
I need to look up the phone number here really quickly. I'll post that here in a second. Email or texting is like the way to go. It's usually fastest, or give me a call. I'll give you a call. Definitely be interested in talking. I mean, even if you don't have a deal right now that's going on, I'm certainly happy to talk to you about, just lending in general, or stuff that you're looking at, and just kind of keep abreast of what's happening. So when something does happen, we've been talking and can move on it.
How much development have you done, like with new builds and maybe like larger commercial projects? I don't know if you've had to rezone or whatever, or work with the county at length with, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
So not too much. I mean, we've done some rezoning on things, but I'm usually looking for stuff that has shorter time frames. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think probably it's been like forever. The last rezoning we did was in Culpeper County a while ago, and so the rezoning brand, it's been a while. Ended up we had a commercial, or maybe a comp planned commercial piece of land that we had rezoned and then approved for condo townhouses there. So whatever the underlying zoning was, the townhouses weren't either permitted. I don't think they were permitted or special use there. They weren't allowed, but apartment buildings and condos were. So we got that plan together to have condo style townhouses, and then ended up selling that to a builder who ended up building it. So that ended up being a pretty nice deal, and then he ended up building a pretty nice product there as well. So that was it's like Virginia in particular, I think each locality has to update their comprehensive plan. I think it's every 5 years, 5 or 6 years. And so sometimes, if you see a growth area maybe the land is zoned agricultural right now, you can check out that comprehensive plan, and it might be comp plan zone commercial. So you'd probably have to go to the board of supervisors and ask for that to happen. But but if that's what they're planning, there shouldn't really be a reason to do that. So there's a lot of value there sometimes.
And checking the comp plans, you're saying?
Oh yeah, if you're able to find land that or houses, an area that is being underutilized. I mean, it might be zoned agriculture or being used as agricultural right now, but the comp plan is what the locality puts out and says, hey, we want, and in 10 years, we really see this becoming townhouses or commercial and stuff like that. So you can take a situation where maybe the agricultural land's worth $5,000 an acre there, but commercial land's worth $75,000 an acre. So, you're able to buy 10 acres of it. I mean, that ends up being pretty meaningful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you have to run it through the process, but I mean, there are opportunities like that.
Okay, yeah, and we got one more question from James. He said, you may have already answered this, but how long does it take to get approved for your hard money loans?
Oh, sure. If the house is on fire, we got to do the deal this week. I mean, we can probably get it done in 3 or 4 days, if we absolutely have to, and you have title together. 10 days is a lot happier for everybody. I mean, because right now, title agents and attorneys are really busy. So if we've got to get the docs together and stuff like that. So maybe you've got a deal that you're interested in. I mean, I'll try to talk on the phone and do as much as we can over there. And that's usually enough to be kind of yes or no on it. And then I want to do a site visit to just make sure we're good. So I mean, after the site visit, I mean, probably as long as we get document production, I mean, just in terms of the budget, renovation budget, scope of work and stuff like that. And just verifying cash on hand or how that's going to happen. Then, I mean, probably a day after the site visit, we can get you a term sheet out and be ready to go.
Okay, perfect.
So,
yeah, anything else? I mean, you covered quite a bit with hard money loans and a lot of other stuff today too. Anything else you think would be really helpful for people to know about, let's say they've need to do their first hard money loan or anything like that, for their projects?
I think we had a lot of stuff, but,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think just, I mean, I'm obviously not the only guy out there. But I think that relationship's important. So if especially if you're like very new, I mean, if there's somebody that will spend a little bit more time with you and help you get up to speed, because I mean, they want to develop a relationship with you too. And I personally am not I'd rather do 10 deals with you that, instead of just one. So if we can really kind of start developing a rapport and being able to work together, I think that's cool and optimal. So, I mean, I think use those resources. And then, yeah, I mean, I think, just more lead time is better. I mean, especially on your first couple of deals. I mean, if you're talking with any lender, I mean, the more heads up you can give somebody so it's not a rush and they can really spend time with you and just kind of make sure everything's good. I think that's good.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet. Let's see, 1 second. I think that looks like that's about it for the questions.
Okay.
So the only announcement we have is we have our next meetup is going to be January 19th. So we're taking the month of December off just for the holidays. So the next one will be December 19th for the meetup. And I appreciate all your time, Rob. There's a lot of cool stuff we cover. I mean, not just the lending, we got into commercial properties and everything else. If you know a lot of developers and stuff, I might want to give you a call and pick your brain about something we're trying to work on. So
sure, man.
Yeah. There's some
Yeah,
stuff
happy
we're running into. But yeah, thank you guys. And we're gonna log off for the night. Thanks again for coming, Rob.